It's absolutely gorgeous outside. I don't know how long we're going to lock out and having such a beautiful weather. It's going to rain tomorrow if you're local. All right, so I got two big news. Well, actually, I had more like four, but I had to scale it down so that Ellen gets her time. You know the drill, put the questions in the chat. If you prefer to speak them up, we'll have a couple of minutes for that. But let's start with the big news that the DEA on Tuesday at 12 o'clock announced that they are officially intending to reschedule cannabis in the next, whatever the timing is. But now this is the first time ever in the history of the United States of America, since all of us been alive, that is, that the cannabis will officially get legalized for the whole country. Basically, it will become a controlled substance like things like codeine, things like Sudafed. Basically, it will be available in every pharmacy of the country, everywhere, theoretically. Now, how that process will work, we're going to have to see. I'm going to give you, if you're interested in details of this, I'm going to give you a quick link to the AP News. If you want to kind of hear more about my opinion, do go to my Facebook. And you will find my live video that's recorded there that discusses in great detail the ramification of this and what this means for the whole country. I spent about 10 minutes trying to explain this in some detail, so I don't want to take more time on that, but that's a big news. So we're going to see a major industry shift. The industry will be able to be fully legal with the context of having banking access, and loans and federal grants will be available for studies of medical cannabis, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a major news, and you may or may not have seen this. Okay, so the second significant news is this study that I've been tracking, this topic of relationship between obesity or overweight or weight period and mortality in people over 65. And it's a fascinating topic. In contrast, this may be very controversial. In contrast to what you hear that obesity kills, turns out in an elderly, obesity saves. In fact, looks like the heavier you are, the longer you're going to live. And the data has been coming up quite a long time ago. We're talking about 10 years as the first time. 10 years ago, I started noticing controlled trials speaking about this. And now it's at the point where we have about 100 trials saying the same thing. So the best weight appears to be somewhere BMI of about 28 to 33. So actual obesity. So if you're 80 and you're obese, you're going to live a lot longer. And the difference is pretty large. So just to give you, if you're going to click on this link I just gave you to the British Medical Journal, published in, American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, published just recently. What you're going to find if you look at the actual brackets of BMI, so if your BMI is less than 25, you have about let's see. So if your BMI less than 20, for each point you have a 10% increased risk of mortality per year. So basically, if your BMI is something like 18 or 17, you have about 50% higher mortality compared to somebody who's at 25. If your BMI in range of about, let's say, from 20 to 22, you have, again, for each point, you have about 10% increased risk. So the sweetest spot appears to be at BMI of about 28. So for somebody who is, let's say, 5'7", that will probably mean you have to be about 170 pounds, somewhere in that range. Why is that? I mean, that's a key question. There's no easy answer to that. There are some theoretical ideas that maybe what is very healthy at young age, which is like very robust, healthy metabolism with a fast speed of processing of food and being able to maintain weight at the sort of what we always consider before an optimal weight between the BMI of 20 to 25, thought to be the optimal. So it doesn't work out for people over 65. And it is a clear J curve. What do I mean by that? The J curve is where you have, actually, let me show you what J curve is. It's a little easier for me to explain on a picture rather than by word. So what I'm going to do is, So I'm going to first show you for young people. So this would be a J-curve for a young population. So this on the right side of my screen. See if I can make it larger. That doesn't work. Okay, let's see. All right, so this is for a younger person. So you see that the lowest mortality point sits somewhere between, let's say, 22 to 25, maybe 26. And then as you go up, you start going up and up and up. So this is for all ages, but of course, all ages on average going to be a lot younger than 65. If you look at this is from World Health Organization, right? So now, if you look at people who are older, and I'm not going to look for this graph because it doesn't really matter, but it's the same graph. But that point, that sweet spot where the arrow points moves all the way up to here, right here. In fact, some people claim that it's almost at the 30. And the formal 30s diagnosis of obesity. And for older adults, the mortality begins to go up only when you cross 33, right here. And a 33 lays close to morbid obesity. So, well, 35 by definition and above is considered morbid obesity, but it's not that far off. So this is a very significant paradigm shift for a lot of people. You may go to your doctor and let's say you're 66 and they're going to say, you got to lose weight. Your BMI is 30. Turns out to be that is a nonsense. Purely weight loss for something like this would be unevidenced and it would be a wrong suggestion. It actually will be wrong practice of medicine if you say this because you're not following the evidence. So why is that? Again, let me go back to sort of thinking. Well, there are possibly two explanations. None actually has been proven. First explanation is it's a more cushion. Let's say you fall down, you have more cushion, less likely to fracture something. You have an acute infection, you have more weight reserve to rebound from that acute infection. Actually, I'm really interested in what Ellen has to say about this, because in Chinese medicine, the whole idea of drying of the tissues and sort of different sheet would be, this will be interesting to hear sort of if there is a Chinese medicine aspect of this. I'll let Ellen talk a little bit about that if she wants to. All right, and then the other component is probably more important, and is when you have a little extra weight, when you're at this age, you're gonna have to carry that weight with you wherever you go. Whether you go to wash your clothes or you go to a shop, you're going to carry all that. That means by default, you're going to be working harder. Means you're going to be probably creating heavier bones and more muscle mass. That is what I actually think is the main explanation. I don't have a proof for that, certainly, and nobody does. It's called older adult obesity paradox. That's the formal term for this, because it appears that that's a consistent find. And initially, about 10 years ago, this was more on a fringe. I believed that from the get-go because I reviewed the literature back then. And then I wasn't talking about this loudly because to me, it felt more of a too hard to talk, because like you start advocating for all your people at age of 65 to rapidly gain weight because that's what science shows. And that's probably not the right thing to do, right? Because the science doesn't show that the gain of weight is healthy. It shows that the weight is healthy. It's a different thing. And then what do you do with someone whose BMI is 25, if they're 65? Probably nothing, because gaining of that weight may be more problematic than being 25 versus 28. We don't know. We don't have a clear-cut science explaining this paradox. I do think that now, as more and more attention is drawn to this issue, we will answer this in an upcoming few years. So I will definitely stay close to this topic just because I'm very interested in this topic in the first place, and also because it's fascinating. I think it's one of the few topics that basically says older adults and kids are not like small and big adults, right? Just on two opposite spectrums. There is clear, significant differences in metabolism and in biochemistry and hormonal milieu. So with that, I'll end the wellness talk and let's do a couple of minutes of questions, so about 7 minutes to do your Q&A. Otherwise, I'll yield all the rest of the time to Ellen. Ellen, do you want to add anything to that particular?
Sure. Yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, especially the bones part, just having that weight to kind of build your bones. In a Chinese medicine perspective, we look at morbid obesity, but we don't look at, having extra weight as a problem, as long as you have good digestion, good circulation, and strong immune system. So you're balanced. I mean, there's that kind of old theory, that set point theory around metabolism. that we're all different. And so our set point for weight is different as well. And, it's really interesting. You said, the frailer you are, the higher your risk of mortality, because in Chinese medicine, we have these ideas of yin and yang, which, in everyday life is sunshine and darkness, dryness and wetness, and all the dampness, we call that. And as we get older, we lose that, we lose that mobility in our joints, lubrication in our joints. Women, go into menopause, so we become more yin deficient. And if we don't have that lubricating, nourishing, and moistening aspect in our bodies, then we're out of balance. So you can become too obese, or too heavy, and your body's not metabolizing and digesting, and there's too much stagnation. That's a problem. But if you're too thin and you're,
Right.
You're frail and all that, then that's a problem too. So again, it's always a healthy balance, and we're all different. So kind of look at it
Yep.
that way.
Right on. Yeah, 100%. So, okay, so you guys drop the questions in the chat. Again, whatever the questions are, don't have to be COVID at all. Anything health related. And then if you need to rather unmute, just raise your hand. If you don't know how to raise your head, just unmute and speak. It's okay. So, and by the way, also always good idea to reflect on this topic. Like if you have any particular question about what we just talked about, by all means, ask. No, there is no obvious correlation between increasing cholesterol and being overweight to the certain point. It's much more related to the general metabolism and inflammatory reactions. So it's a misconception to assume that every pound of the weight is an excess burden, metabolically speaking. That's never been shown. What's been shown that the morbid obesity is almost never a good thing. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. But we kind of got stuck with this whole idea of a weight and BMI. And I think there's a rapid attempt trying to get out of this. There's some societies, particularly I think the American Diabetic Association, and then I think some of the weight associations, trying to really get rid of the BMI as a measure of anything. It's a very poor's man of assessment. I mean, I think the gold standard rapidly becoming body composition. Unfortunately, most of us don't know our body composition. It's a very easy test that can be done in almost any office that does this. CIM does this. We have two separate machines, actually. And then so, you basically will understand % of your fat, muscle, and water. And that's actually a much more important parameter. So knowing that you have enough muscles in the body and the amount of fat is not very super high, that would be more important. Somebody could be like, let's just do simple, like mixed martial artist, for example, versus somebody who's a couch potato. They may have exactly the same BMI, and then the martial artist will have a dramatic muscle mass. And even though the body is much heavier than we would consider optimal, let's say the BMI may be 30, but that person could be completely healthy just because there's so much muscle, versus couch potato, same exact weight, completely different scenario. So no, I don't think that this has nothing to do with the diet. Great question. Cecilia is asking in chat, would this argue against the vegan diet or diet without red meat? It wouldn't argue about any of the diets whatsoever. Diet is completely irrelevant here because it doesn't, the weight itself is not how you, like, it's not related to what you eat necessarily, right? Alone. It's much more complex issue. The diet was only one small component of it, and arguing here versus which diet would be better for, let's say, maintaining BMI of 28 is not a relevant question because we don't know. For the first and foremost, there is no science to address that point. The links between the diets and the weight here in this particular question has never been established. But if you ask me then, well, what would be the kind of the optimal way of thinking about it? I think the best way to kind of position this is if your weight is maintained on a balanced whole diet where most of your calories coming from whole foods and not from some processed junk, probably okay, and then you have to also look deeper into the muscle capacities. So to me, when I talk to someone, if they come to me and they say, okay, my weight is, let me just tell you how I present this to patients. If they say, oh, I need to lose a couple of pounds because my BMI is 28. I would not necessarily say, no, don't lose the weight. Sometimes I would if I'm concerned, but often I'd say, that's fine. I mean, lose a couple of pounds is great. But I would try to direct them away from dieting towards much more physical load. So I would try to have them gain muscle. And I would try to tell them, let's lose the fat by gaining muscle. And with that, if you lose a couple of pounds, wonderful. And if you don't lose any weight, I'm very happy because that's actually my goal. My goal is not for you to lose weight. My goal is for you to substitute your fat with a muscle. That is really the goal. It seems to be that the core longevity is associated with the muscle strength, not with anything else. So the most important predictor is indeed your functional capacity of your bones and muscles, and not anything else. I have never had difficulty losing weight, even now at 70. I just prioritize eating healthy, balancing calories, intake with exercise, especially. And of course, my BMI is low and I look small, but I can do a 2-minute plank twice a day. Is this good? Of course, it's good. Now, would you be better off gaining weight? Probably. I'm not kidding. I mean, that's what the study is showing. Study is saying if you were heavier, and I happen to actually know your weight, Linda, so I know that. So if you're heavier, then you probably long-term going to have a better longevity. You live longer. All right, one last question because we're at 20 minutes. Did I miss somebody? I missed somebody. I missed Jane's question. There was a positive question. Oh, no, I answered the cholesterol question. There's no link. There's no link to a certain point. So, and yeah, so that's another interesting question. Does the weight associate with a higher cardiovascular risk? And the answer is yes, in younger age, but not in an older age, no. And so this data correlates across all the parameters. You know, it's an all-cause mortality, and it includes cardiovascular risk as well. Especially since cardiovascular mortality is like 1 or 2, number 1 or number 2, depending on how you look at it. All right, last question, Sharad. Is there a particular kind of muscle that is based to gain, as in slow twitch? I think Sharad, it's a great question, and it's a question that's a little bit, I think, above the sort of what we should be talking. You're talking more from perspective of somebody who's in their, let's say, 40s, 50s, and 60s. I say once people get to 70s and 80s, that question is no longer as relatively important. You just want to, at that point, maintain general muscle strength and muscle mass, and try not to figure out, do I need to build slow twitch or cardio? Generally, we prefer muscle strength over the cardio for people over 65. So if you ask me, what should your percent exercise be between, say, for somebody who's 70, should I be doing more cardio or more muscle strength? It's always muscle strength. In fact, cardio amount should be gradually decreasing over time. It's following a natural cycle of life. And you should be concentrating more on a muscle strength and the balance training. So hence, Tai Chi becomes one of them, yoga becomes some of the more better systems of practice, not necessarily a particular exercise. Well, thank you. If you have more questions, you can send me a personal one or hold them until next time. Thank you, Ellen, so much for being here.
Oh, pleasure. Thank you. Okay, I guess I'm on. You know, I wasn't aware that I was going to do the mind-body thing. So I'm going to, and I'm in a small space. So is there anyone who cannot stand up? You can just put it in the chat or something. Because what I'd like to do is just kind of get up and move our bodies a little bit with some simple Qigong, which is, you've done before, I know. Which literally means working your chi work. And what I want to do is a shaking practice. And what I like about it, it's really easy and it can totally change your state. If you can't get up, you can do it in your seat. But I'm going to stand, and I just want to bear with me while I try to set up my computer to see if you can see me. Hold on. Move it back. Bear with me, guys. Sorry. I have a very small but lovely little office. Okay. So let's see. Okay, you can kind of see me up against the wall. So if you can, I'd like you to stand with your feet close together. And if you can't stand, you can sit and just do the upper body part. So just stand and think of the top of your head, which is a point, acupuncture point there called 5-way, 100 meeting point. And like you're thinking of it as a tether to the sky. So your head is reaching up, your shoulders, you can even roll them backwards and let them slide down your back so that your chest is open. Taking a breath into your chest. Can you hear me okay? Just Jeanette, maybe give me a thumbs up. Okay. So just standing there with your head to the sky, shoulders back, chest open. And I'd like you to just take a small step to the right and then come up on your toes, just gently turn your heels out, lift your arms up, and then you're just going to drop them down. And this is like nobody's watching. You don't have to worry about looking ridiculous or silly or anything. But the idea is that we're going to shake our joints and our bones. And it's as if there's a shell around your body. That's your superficial tension. And you're just going to imagine it's like a little chick cracking the egg. And all that tension is just dropping down into the earth. And just think about being really loose, like a marionette doll, just really loose in your body, just shaking all your joints. And letting your breath go down into your belly. You can even take a nice deep breath if you're having some tension that you just need to let go of. And you just give a little shake to your arms and your hands. Really just letting go, just letting anything that you don't need just drop into the earth. Tension, stress, thought. Letting your breath go. Worry, future planning. Just consciously and intentionally shaking it out of your body. Loosening up all that hold that it has on the inside. And you can kind of switch to one side and the other side. And just imagine now we're going to start at the base of your skull and moving down your spine. And you're just going to imagine shaking loose any stress or tension in your neck, your throat, going down between the top of your shoulders, your spine, between your shoulder blades, just that thoracic area that gets really tight if you're on a computer or you're sitting, compressing those vertebrae, just letting them open up and shake loose any tension there. Any tension that goes into your heart and makes you feel closed and shut down, just breathing, and if you're muted and you're alone, you can even let some noise out like this. Just that vibration helps to loosen up tension inside, moving down your spine to your thoracic spine, down into your lumbar, that area that's really compressed from sitting, and letting your pelvis kind of shake a little bit. So you feel that kind of tilting of your pelvis and lengthening of your tail and your spine, just going down into the earth. All the way into your hip joints. Even if you have hip pain, just imagining like that you're lubricating that area. You're sending chi, vitality, circulation All of that will help any inflammation without any stress or tension, and just letting that shake down into your upper thigh, your femur, the largest bone in your body. Just imagining all that circulation moving in your upper thigh and your legs, down into your knee, that great pivot that keeps us upright or that humbles us and brings us to the earth. Just letting that knee joint just shake a little bit. If you need to just lift one leg and shake a leg, if it's too much for your knees, that's okay. Or you can go one knee or the other, like you're kind of walking in place if it's too much on your knees. And then just letting that go down your shin bone, two of them that form the ankle at the bottom, and then shaking that left foot, shaking the ankle joint, shaking the toes. Oh, and then coming back up to the top of your skull, top of your head, imagining even the skull bones that are joined there, allowing them to open, allowing your jaw to shake open a little bit. You can open and stretch your jaw, make funny faces with your face. Allowing your throat to shake, letting that to open up. Going down your cervical spine, your neck, out to your shoulder blades. So your shoulder blades in back and your collarbone in front come together at the top of your arm bone, your humerus, and form your shoulder joint. And we know we all can carry the burdens of the world up there. So just shake your shoulders. You can exaggerate the movement if you like, just to get some movement in there. Just shaking out your elbows, shaking out your forearm and your wrist, fingers. And then just kind of move around, just kind of like do a crazy little dance. Just shaking out. Again, just letting anything you don't need, any tension, any stress, just letting that go. And then just slowly, slowly coming to quiet, just allowing the body to slow down. Again, if you're comfortable standing, make sure your knees are bent. If you need to sit down, just sit down, feeling your feet on the floor. Your Bai Hui, 100 meeting point to the sky, tethered to the sky. If you're standing, or even if you're sitting, grabbing your feet into the earth, just kind of activating a point called bubbling spring on the bottom of your feet. Breathing into your lower abdomen. If your body sways, that's totally fine. Just feeling the vibration and the tingling. And as you breathe in, just lift your hands up. Turning your palms up, hold your breath, exhale, open up your arms way wide, even in back of you to get some stretch. Lift your hands up, bending down so you can see, bring your palms together, and you're going to bring, as you exhale, bringing your hands down, just in front of your heart, just feeling the vibration between your hands, that circle of energy in front of your chest. And just to close, we're going to just do a little bit of self-massage around the head. So you're going to rub your hands together, really rub them together till you feel a bunch of heat and tingling. And don't forget to keep breathing. And when you feel like there's a lot of heat between your hands, just place your hands on top of your eyes, letting your eyes settle back and relax. And just making circles with your eyes closed, 9 times to the right and 9 times to the left. And breathing, letting your hands gently come down. And you're going to massage, you're going to take your fingers by your nose and you're going to breathe in like as if you're trying to breathe in. And you're going to, and you go up to your forehead and just giving a nice massage to your face. I'm going to sit down so you can see me, but you can still stand. And massage. And just a nice massage to your face, opening up your eyes, your nose, stimulating all the acupuncture points on your face. And then just taking your hands and stimulating your scalp. You know, there are a lot of acupuncture points on our scalp, and you can really wake up your brain. If you have a nice big comb, you can take a comb and just comb your hair for like 5 minutes. That's a treatment we do for people after they've had strokes. I mean, it's tiring to do that, so just massage your ears, a lot of acupuncture points in the ears. And then massage your throat, just relaxing the throat. Just the vehicle, just the chest, tapping your chest right here around your thymus gland, stimulating. And then just bring your hands together. Feel the energy in your face and your hand. Rub their hands together and then just place them, your right hand on your lower abdomen, your left hand on top. And just breathe into your abdomen. Nothing to do, nowhere to go, just feeling whatever you notice in your body, sensing whatever you notice. Allowing yourself to notice your hands on your lower abdomen, the warmth of them, the pressure of them, the contact on your belly. And just noticing your belly under your hands. As you breathe, it comes closer to your hands, and as you exhale, the belly relaxes. Again, feeling that 5-way, 100 meeting points of the sky, shoulders relaxed and down the back, eyes settle back into your head, and just breathing into your whole body. Just being here right now, alive, breathing, sensing, trusting that whatever sensations you're noticing are just what you're noticing, nothing to do about them. Just noticing that energy wherever it is in your body, whether it's the warmth in your head, or the warmth of your hands, the noticing of your breath going in and out, or even just simply the fact that you're sitting or standing. That's enough. And whenever you're ready, just take a nice deep breath in through your nose into your whole body. Keeping your mouth closed as you breathe out, just letting that energy circulate. And when you're comfortable, you can just open your eyes, just really gently, just allowing yourself to see whatever is in front of you. So anybody, if you have any kind of, whenever you're ready, if you have anything you noticed when you were doing that, or any questions about that practice. It's really, it's part of a whole Qigong form that I studied when I was in my training. But what is really beautiful about it is you can change your state right away. You know, like if you're sitting and you're feeling tense and stuff, you can just get up and shake. Or if you have one of those big exercise balls in your house, you can just sit on the ball and just shake. If you have a little trampoline, you can jump on a little trampoline. You know, anything just to get the movement in your joints, movement of your circulation and chi. I just find it very refreshing. My head is so warm. I don't know about you. And it's fine. I'm always happy to do mind body practice. It feel Jade is just saying I'm feeling tingling all over. It feels good. Yeah, you know, we can feel good, and I think that's the most beautiful thing for me about acupuncture is people can come in feeling one way and nothing really changes in their life, but they leave and they feel really different. And that's just the power of change that we have available to us at any time. So it's great. So speaking about feeling good, I was thinking, you know, really contemplating what did I want to bring to you today, and how could I be of benefit to you? And the other day I was listening to the news, and you know, there was some study or some survey or something that found that 50% of Americans are either anxious or depressed. And of course, it's a huge problem, and it's a huge problem with our youth. People tend to feel happier as we get older, so that's kind of wonderful. But it is a problem. And there is a real, so I wanted to talk about food and mood. And because we all want to feel better. And I wanted to talk about, just from a food perspective, what we could do to help ourselves take some internal stress off. Because if we're paying attention to what's happening in the world, it's enough to make us anxious and depressed. But we can mitigate that and really balance that out with our own internal sense of well-being so that we can meet the challenges. I mean, that really is what life seems to be about. What I've noticed anyway is that, you know, there are tremendous challenges that we face. And how do we meet the moment without more stress than we're already being faced with? So the good news is we have a body. And the even better news is that our body and mind are one. They're not really two different things. And what's wonderful is that the research is coming out about what we call the gut microbiome and the gut-brain axis, and that they are intimately connected, so that what goes on in our gut really affects our brain and affects our mood. And in Chinese medicine, we know that very, very well when we say like qi, which is our digestive qi, our energy, our breathing, all of that is the forefather. It's a very patriarchal culture. Forefather of Shen, and Shen is our spirit. And Shen in Chinese medicine resides in the heart. But it's also our consciousness and our mind and our spirit. So that you can deduce, and there's a proverb in Chinese culture that says, I wrote this down, a person does not live only on what they eat, but on what they digest. So our digestion is key to feeling well. And all of us know that if we've eaten a crummy meal or overeaten or eaten something that really doesn't work for us, we don't feel well. And, you know, that can emanate to our mood or feeling lethargic or just generally crummy, besides digestive distress. So the good news is that when we change what we eat, we change how we feel, and physically and mentally and emotionally. We know that just in the West, you know, there's been a lot of different diets, DASH diets, certain diets for kids with autism, ADHD, and one of the big things that they start with is taking out all the preservatives and processed foods. So I want to wish that all of you are on that trail of like eliminating those kinds of things, because there's so many in our food system. In fact, the CDC has come out with information that 60% of the diet, that the standard American diet that Americans eat, is processed foods. Now, if we could reduce that, I mean, I'd like to see it reduced to 30%, but if we could reduce it to 40%, that would make a difference. Because there are a lot of things in there. Well, we know that there's certain preservatives, et cetera, that affect, the mind and create hyperactivity, et cetera. But there are also other kinds of gums that can affect our digestion and our GI tract. And a lot of people have GI issues, and especially as we get older, those GI issues seem to exacerbate because from a Chinese medicine perspective, we are, our digestive fire is less. And a lot of people will say that, I can't eat what I used to be able to eat this and now I can't eat that. And I think that's an important thing to pay attention to. If you don't feel good eating something, then it's probably not right for you. So we have to pay attention and honor the changes that are going on in our bodies. But let me just talk a little bit about that gut-brain axis, because it's a bidirectional communication system. Sounds very high-tech, doesn't it? It is very high-tech. We have the enteric nervous system, which is our digestive system, which has its own thing going on. And it's in direct communication with our central nervous system, which also relates. And then the parasympathetic, our heart rate, et cetera, is connected, but not in that kind of linear bidirectional way. So we know that what we eat affects our gut. And the big research that has been so thrilling for me is this microbiome research, and in showing how the health of the microbiome is so also directly related to our immune system. So the big news is if you eat 30 different fruits and vegetables, herbs, spices, nuts, and seeds per week, you're in really good shape. And I'll tell you, it's not that hard. So what does that mean? That means if you sit down and you have a meal of, I'm just going to do a very simple meal. Let's say you have some meat or fish, and you have some grain, and then you have a salad, and then you have one or two vegetables. But in your salad, you used olive oil, so that's one point. Lemon juice, that's another. Let's say you've used some basil in your dressing, that's another. Let's say in your salad you have lettuce, arugula, carrots, so that we're up to 6. Maybe you have some cucumber, now we're up to 7, and you have some parsley. That's already 8 different foods you've eaten. So you see that, like in one little dish, you have had a lot of what we call in my little family points. And you're getting close to your 30 different foods per week. Because the more diversity you have, the more beneficial bacteria, the more beneficial microbiota you have in your gut. And that is in direct communication with your brain and your mood. Now, salad, people go, it's like really, really, really healthy, right? Well, yes, because it's got lots of vegetables. But for some people, raw vegetables can be very hard to digest. So you can take a salad and you can kind of grill or broil a little bit of romaine for like 3 minutes with a teeny bit of oil. It makes it more digestible. You can steam vegetables, and then so that they're not raw, but they're not mushy, and then you can make a salad dressing. So even though, quote, salads are healthy, not everyone can digest them well. So if we go back to you are what you digest. If you can't digest healthy food, then it's not really going to be of benefit for you. It's going to put a stress on your GI tract, which is going to put a stress on your mood in a certain kind of way. Okay. So fiber is the big thing. And so fiber is in vegetables, right? I had a patient once who had suffered from constipation, and was really trying to work with her on food, but she was kind of resistant to it. So I recommended she eat more vegetables, etc. She couldn't really do it, but in the summer her constipation got better. Why? Because she loved blueberries and she ate tons of blueberries, and the fiber in the blueberries, the antioxidants, all of that made her GI tract more active and responsive, and her constipation improved. So I can't encourage you enough to eat as many vegetables as you can. So number one, the microbiome, the gut-brain axis, these are the two really important points, are really intimately connected. All healthy food is not created equal for everybody, because we can tolerate different kinds of things, right? Like I can't eat peppers. When I was a kid, I ate them all the time. I used to love to crunch on them. They were just wonderful. But now if I eat a pepper, I'm like, it's talking to me all night long. So I don't eat them. But for other people, they're fine. So we want to also think about what are the things that get in the way of a healthy digestion, a sense of ease, that when we eat, the food moves through us. We're not feeling bloated or gassy. We're satisfied. Of course, we need to have delicious foods. So we want to eliminate anything that's an obstacle to our sense of well-being and cure. And for everybody, that's different. But for everybody, it's eliminating or deeply reducing refined carbohydrates and sugars, and foods with additives or processed things. Even natural flavors are chemicals. If it puts in like beet juice to bring flavor, that's something. But if it says natural beet flavor, then that's something that's created in a lab. So that may not be as beneficial to you. So we want to eliminate those obstacles to cure. We want to reduce our processed foods. Okay, so what do we eat? There's a wonderful neuropsychiatrist, nutritionist out of Harvard, Uma Naidu, who wrote a book called Food is Mood. And I'll put a link in actually to her, this one part of her website. Let me just get that for you. Anyway, I'll do that in a minute. But she's marvelous and has a book, and she has a nice website with a lot of resources on it. So let's talk about what you can add in to help you feel more at ease. So number one, as many green vegetables as you can. I just kind of jumped out in my garden here, and I have some this is called rocket or arugula. It keeps reseeding in my garden. I'm in the Pacific Northwest, so I don't get those intense colds that people may get in the Northeast. But then I jumped out in my garden because I don't use any pesticides on my lawn. So I got some dandelion greens. Dandelion greens are very bitter. They're very cleansing. They're good for the liver. They're a great spring green. I lived in Italy for a couple of years, and every spring I'd see these elderly people with their white plastic bags walking the fields, grabbing dandelion greens, and then going back and throwing them in water with garlic and olive oil and salt, boiling them, and they're delicious. So dandelion greens are a great spring green. Arugula, if you have a little garden, or even if you have a balcony or a porch and you can put some pots on there, arugula grows really easy. Again, this is kind of a little bit of a spicy green. It's really, really, really nice. So eating greens are really important just for tons of minerals, calcium, magnesium in them, and fiber. Adding in fermented foods to your daily diet, a little bit of sauerkraut, not with vinegar, but salt, fermented fermented foods, not vinegar foods that are on the shelf, foods that are in the refrigerator section. Now, a lot of these foods are super easy to make, and they take some time, but they are easy to make, and there are a lot of resources for that as well. I'm just going to put here. There's a wonderful man named Sandor Katz, written beautiful books on fermentation. And I'll put some links in before I leave. So sauerkraut, yogurt without sugar. Okay, if you look in yogurt, there's like 16 grams of sugar. That's 4 teaspoons of sugar and 6 ounces of yogurt. I don't think any of us would put 4 teaspoons of sugar in 6 ounces of yogurt. So, you can add a little honey at home. If you want a little sugar, you can. You can add a little jam. You can add a little fruit. But yogurt is really, really good. Hard cheeses can be good if you don't digest cow's milk well. You can do sheep or goat. Kombucha, if you like. Don't drink tons of it, but some of it is really nice. Also, it's a little bit high in sugar. Miso, tamari, kefir, however you call it, are good. All of these have bring in beneficial bacteria to your GI tract and help your digestion. So adding in a little bit every day is a really good thing. Just having a teeny little bit on your plate. Of course, eating the rainbow of fruits and vegetables on a daily basis is just going to make you happy, because color and smell and all these things have a positive impact on our health. In Chinese medicine, we in the old days when we had raw herbs and we would cook them, we would say that the medicine happened as soon as you smelt the herbs. Now, of course, Chinese herbs aren't the most delicious things to eat, drink, but they are medicine. But food is delicious. And you should, when you smell the food cooking, if it gives you pleasure, it's already acting on your sensory input and your sense of well-being. So smell is really good. We use a lot of fragrant flowers in herbal medicine, but you can add them into your tea, like rose petals, lavender, jasmine. I have some, in Chinese medicine, we use chrysanthemum, which is also a little bit from these are chrysanthemum flowers, and they're very calming. They're good for, they're nice, very nice, light kind of taste. You can get those in Asian markets, but also chamomile tea is really nice. It's calming. If you feel agitated, you definitely want to stay away from heavy, spicy, and greasy foods, because that is inflammatory in the system and just can be agitating and really. I only have a couple of minutes. So these are just some of the things that you can play with, but really removing those obstacles to cure, honoring what works well with your digestion and what doesn't. So do you have any questions?
You can unmute if you have a question.
Yeah, just speak up. I will listen.
Okay, this is Salome.
Yes.
A lot of vegetables don't agree with me, like beets are good to lower blood pressure, but I can't eat a lot of beets. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Things like that.
Uh-huh.
And some of them, they may cause me diarrhea, like butternut squash. If I eat a lot, I just eat a little bit. So I don't know what to do. Anyway.
So, Salome, do you are there vegetables you can eat, and what are they?
Oh, there are a lot of them.
Okay, good. So
cabbage, carrot, string beans.
Good. That's okay. Then yeah, I know it's sad to have to give up things that you may like butternut squash. Can you do sweet potato?
Yeah, I could do sweet potatoes.
Or yam. I know it's not the same thing, but the good thing is, it sounds like, is you can eat a lot of vegetables, but you can not eat some vegetables.
Yeah, I love beets, but I can't. Well, I can eat a little bit, not much.
Do you don't do well when you cook with them, or they are, or just raw? There's a problem.
No, I roast them.
You roast them. Oh, that's nice.
But butternut squash
Yeah.
and beets, I roast them.
Well, maybe they're higher in sugar, so those sugars can affect your GI tract. Again, certain people, I think, as long as you're eating a whole bunch of other vegetables, we can hold a little memorial service for these vegetables that you can't eat anymore. But I think you have to pay attention, and it sounds like you are. So
yeah, I like the beets because they're supposed to lower my blood pressure, but I can't have them. I can't get watermelon a lot either.
But again, blood pressure is like hypertension is a complex picture, and there are lots of ways to help lower your blood pressure. So if you're not getting the beets in there, just like practices, and acupuncture helps, and meditation helps, and yoga helps, and all that kind of stuff. So there are lots of other ways that you can bring your blood pressure down without the beets. But
I do, but I like those beets.
I know. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thanks.
No
I'll
problem.
mute.
I'm just putting in. I couldn't get the link in here, so food is mood, and then Sandor Katz, any books, his books on fermentation. And all of you, whatever culture you're from, you have traditions of fermentation, and they're rich. And so explore them, because I think it's always good to go back to those foods of origin that we come from. All of them have very rich traditions as well. Any other questions? Okay. All right. I think we're at time, right, Jeanette?
Yep. Thank you, Ellen, so much. Looks like we're gonna have you back in July.
Yes, I'm gonna come back in July. I'm looking forward to it.
Otherwise,
I'm
everybody
looking forward to having you.
stay well. We'll see you next week. If you need to talk to me, stay on here, and we'll figure it out. That'll be the new model. Janet we'll stop the recording, but we'll hold off of getting out of here.
Thanks so much, everybody.